Hey, it's Michael Douglas on Dr. Pundit. Welcome to another In Brief on the channel. And I wanted to do an In Brief on this particular story that I've covered not really as much as I wanted to over the past couple of years, but just to kind of put some closure on it. Daryl Hall and John Oates, their legal drama is basically put to rest behind closed doors. This broke this morning. And, the legacy of Daryl Hall and John Oates came to an end last year. Decided to part ways. The duo produced several hit songs throughout their career with, tracks. The number one hits Rich Girl, Private Eyes, Man Eater, three other number one hits. But outside of wanting to explore a solo career, both Daryl Hall and John Oates found themselves at odds when it came to John Oates wanting to sell his stake in the group. Taking the matter to court, it appeared that both parties came to an agreement behind closed doors. When joining forces, the duo created the partnership Whole Oates Enterprise. I have to assume came from the name they gave to one of their first albums, Whole Oates. Outside of that unique name, however, the partnership acted as a central hub to all things Daryl Hall and John Oates, a central clearinghouse. That included trademarks, rights, royalty income, social media, and even their website. Although Whole Oates Enterprise seemed like a great idea at the time, John Oates sought to sell his stake in the partnership to an entity called Primary Wave. Daryl Hall, however, was not having any of it. He is the party who basically took this case to court. And according to Rolling Stone, a new filing a couple of days ago revealed both parties came to an agreement. Daryl Hall's attorney wrote, "The claims have been adjudicated in arbitration. Given the entry of final judgment in arbitration, plaintiffs will be contemporaneously filing a notice of voluntary dismissal with the court." Now, I'm not an attorney, but that's all legalese for there's been some sort of agreement. You really can't say a settlement. It wasn't a lawsuit that both Daryl Hall and John Oates have agreed to, and that's that. Now, with this agreement playing out in headlines over the past couple of years, the relatively quiet ending came as a surprise to some, and I'm not sure why that is. I knew this is how this would end. Now, those who were surprised, I think, felt this way because the original filing, Daryl Hall initially stated, "I felt like I was blindsided. I have no intention of becoming partners with Primary Wave, and the Oates Trust cannot be permitted to thrust a new partner upon me in this outrageous fashion." So I guess some people thought that this would be more contentious than it was, but I think for all that's happened, this is actually a good thing. And I'll explain why toward the end of this episode here. As for Daryl Hall, he insisted on being tremendously disappointed in how his former collaborator and apparently friend, John Oates, responded. Appearing to care little about the things in this case, John Oates told Rolling Stone, "As far as I'm concerned, I've moved on. I feel like I have a new lease on my creative life." Since ending their partnership, both Daryl Hall and John Oates explored solo careers. In 2024, the singers both produced albums. John Oates released his first solo album in nearly 6 years, an album called Reunion. And as for Daryl Hall, he released an album called D, also last year, 2024. With fans continuing to enjoy the legacy that Daryl and John created, many were left reflecting on the duo's remarkable journey and wondering if this truly marked the final chapter of their storied partnership. As I alluded to earlier, I think this quiet ending, because it was still contentious, at least at the outset of this whole legal matter, I think that's a good thing, at least for the fans. I mean, to me, music is everything. It overrides the personal issues. I can compartmentalize the music from the artist. It's human nature to, I think, want everything to be copacetic, but, this is not a fairy tale. These things do happen, and whether it's a breakup or a legal skirmish or some sort of, God forbid, criminal activity, these things can affect members of a musical act that I think for some people always would be remembered as going down in history as just fantastic, highly influential, highly talented, beloved by all musical act. I do think that Daryl Hall and John Oates still have that. I really do. And maybe this kind of quiet closure to this whole legal episode is actually a good thing. I like both performers, and I recognize that they had to go through this legal issue. And, okay. Because to me, the music is all that matters. And I'm wondering if a lot of other people feel that way too. I'm Michael Douglas. Thanks for watching this episode of In Brief right here on Dr. Pundit. Of course, be on the lookout for further full episodes of Dr. Pundit. Thanks for watching.